Hi, it's Tim. I'm back with the answer to the first topic that someone had a question about on my last video, and that was user Hyperion said that I had mentioned that Walter Miller's book, A Canticle of Leibowitz, was really influential on the design of Fallout setting, asked what other sci-fi books I liked. Of course, I have a lot of books. This is just a fraction of them. Growing up in the 70s, obviously Arthur C. Clarke, Robert Heinlein, Isaac Asimov, Ursula Le Guin were just hugely influential. When I got older, though, as a young man, I guess I read more of Dan Simmons' Hyperion series, Ian Banks' culture novels, Roger Zelazny's Amber novels. Those are the kind of books I really liked to read, but I do have one absolute favorite book of all time, and that would be Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny. I love this book. I love it. I love it. It has everything I want in a book. It's well written. It's non-linear. It kind of reads as a fantasy book, but then it turns into a sci-fi novel. Incorporates religion into the story in a really seamless way. It very gradually reveals what the world is, which I really like. I don't like front-loading everything on you. I love this book so much that I not only own, this is my science fiction book club, but I've got an early edition, and I have the Easton Press leather-bound copy. It's the only book I think I own multiple copies of, which says something. What's interesting about this novel is I loved it so much that I've actually designed a game for it. I did this years ago. I have a lot of notebooks. Here's one of them. It's just full of, when I have an idea, I put it in the notebook. I've got probably a dozen of these full of either notes on games I made or notes on games I want to make. I looked up the Lord of Light game, and I designed it as a game in two parts. So you start it, a regular fantasy game. You make a character, you're immortal, amortal. You level up, you choose abilities, you fight standard, cockatrices, monsters, go into dungeons, you find magic items. It's a very standard fantasy game. But at some point, when you spend your points, it kind of forces you into specialization. I know in some of my games, I talk about how good generalists are, but this game forces you to pick a specialty at some point. When you've reached what would be the level cap, you're approached by one of the gods from the celestial city, and they tell you there's an opening in heaven. And you get to join, and you'll be the god of whatever ability that you're specialized in. And what I love is Zelazny has a huge section of this book that talks about what the celestial city's like, what the other gods are like, how they become gods using biofeedback and drugs and brain surgery. But what I love about it is at that point, it becomes a wholly different game. It becomes a science fiction game where you take your specialty to just an incredible, powerful level, and you go up against what in the fantasy game were legendary monsters, demons, elementals, the mothers of the glow. These are all things that appear in the book, but there's no way you're ever going to take them on yourself. But now you're a god, and you can even be immortal, and he provides different ways of doing it. Yama, the god of death, had a technological way of doing it, and then Sam, the main character in the book, he was immortal because one of the demons strengthened his flames. So when he dies, he can still exist as an energy creature. It's so full of good ideas. And I can't believe how good this book is, which actually makes me want to rant about the current state of the game industry making remakes and remasters of existing games. To some extent, I'm not even that big into sequels. I'd rather have original games be made. And if you look at the body of my work, you don't see a lot of numbers after my games. Fallout was an original IP. Arcanum was an original IP. WildStar was an original IP. pillars and tyranny and the outer worlds were all, settings that were made whole cloth from scratch. And on some of them, I was the main instigator behind making that setting, and others I just helped. But there's something incredibly rewarding about making something original and not licensed. And I know I'm ranting about how I want to make a game on Lord of Light, and I do. Zelazny Estate, call me. I just love original IPs. There's something fulfilling about doing something original. And nothing in my ideas for this Lord of Light game requires it to actually be in this setting, but I don't think I would want to do a disservice to Zelazny or his estate by making some spin-off on it. There's enough other ideas I have that I'd rather do that. But I just wish more games today were originals and not remakes, remasters, and sequels. But, well, that's probably more than you wanted to hear. But yes, Lord of Light, by far, my favorite sci-fi novel ever. Hasn't influenced any of my games yet. It will. Maybe. Maybe I'll make something. But very good question, Hyperion. Thank you.